Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of 4Fusion Friday. Yes, it is Friday. It's Friday evening, at least where we are. Thanks for watching us. We're here to talk about some more very cool, mostly instrumental music, right? Usually it's mostly instrumental music. And let me introduce the crew here before we get started. And I'll turn it over to George. George, Lamie, and Eric Porter, the co-founders of the show. Welcome, gentlemen. And our guest, once again, he's back, Mr. Chris Seabold. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Good to be here.
Doing good. Good to have you here again.
It's an exciting day here. It's very rare I get to make it on Sea of Tranquility, so I'm excited to be here.
There you go. Cool. We have 4 really good albums to talk about today, 5 really good albums to talk about today, I guess, because everybody knows the format. We got the 4 square, then we got George's pick, and of course, George has some cool new things coming out to talk about. So, George, with all that being said, I will turn it over to you, my friend.
All right. First up, we have Az Arugulu, Della Morte del Artista. It's the 3rd release from this sextet out of Switzerland. It's an EP, just short of a half an hour. They're a self-described cross-genre band with roots in Prague, ethnic music, fusion, amongst others. I think there's enough here for the fusion folks. Some experimental touches too, a la Mr. Bungle, A Stratosphere, Zappa, Mats Morgan, that neck of the woods. I like this enough that I immediately tracked down their first 2 albums, so obviously I recommend it pretty highly.
I like the cover.
Yeah, it's cool. I think you'll like it. Next, we have Usain Bekirov, Freeway. Look at that lineup. Can I interest you in that? Bekirov is a Ukrainian keyboardist. Not really a flash player, more of he writes melodic tunes. This one comes just a short year after last year's SATO. He likes to keep things a bit compact, I guess, because only 2 of the 9 tracks clocks in over 5 minutes. Evans, Gambale, and Chambers solo frequently too, but just for only so many measures. He likes to keep it tight. Me personally, I'd love to see more song development, but the melodies are strong, and this, again, is heartily recommended. Usain Bekirov, Freeway. Next, Tigran Hamasyan, The Bird of 1,000 Voices. This is highly anticipated by a lot of people. It's big. It's 24 songs, 91 minutes. Yeah, that's a big bite. I mean,
it's a big budget.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to have a hard time with that much music in a chunk. I know I am, and I love Tigran's stuff, but I don't know. I don't know what his thoughts are. I know our esteemed friend from All About Jazz, Mr. Mike Jacobs, is totally into the fact that it's like this. So, your mileage may vary, I guess. For me, it's a little much, but the good tunes on here are slamming. They're really good stuff. So you want to pick it up, make your own playlist, pick it apart kind of thing, I would suggest it. Lastly, you got Jaizu, Lotus. This is a Japanese quartet. It's just a 4-song EP, kind of similar of their last album, Biotop. It's just kind of in the Hiromi vein, upbeat, joyous, piano-based songs. You got 3 like that, and then one, the ballad, the closer. It's only like 16 minutes long. I'm not sure maybe it's floating till the next full length, but it's worth listening to if you like Jaizu, which, they're a good band. So check it out. Jaizu, Lotus. And that's it.
Wow. There's new stuff coming out all the time. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We got to keep people abreast because a lot of people find a hard time finding stuff.
I often wonder what would have happened if Zappa were actually able to release Lather the way that he originally envisaged it. It would have been well over 2 hours of music in one sitting. I guess they became 4 different records or 5 different records or whatever. But I kind of
how many vinyls is that?
I think that was no kidding, probably like 7 or 8.
Wow.
I kind of dig it when when artists go out and they're just like, here's 90 minutes worth of shit, take it or leave it. I mean, it was their project, that's their vision. I kind of get a kick out of it. It's a very brave thing to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're releasing stuff once or twice a year, to come out with like a 80, 90 minute long album. It's like knowing that maybe in 8 months something else is coming. That's hard. For me as a consumer. Like I don't mind like a 90-minute double album or whatever, as long as I know that we're not getting anything else for another year or two or more.
That's
you have plenty of time to digest it, right? Not like by the time you fully realize what's going on with this one, they're like, oh, they got another new one. That one's 70 minutes.
Well, with the advent of CDs and stuff, all of a sudden there were like 70-minute, 80-minute albums, where there used to be 45-minute records or whatever would fit on a vinyl side. So,
yeah, that's a lot of it too. I think we grew up with, you get your 38 to 45 minutes, and now you get something like that, and it feels like a lot,
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go to the square. This month, unusual theme we decided to tackle, calling it Brother Acts. Having two brothers in a band, that's one of the things that made me want to have Chris on. I know he's at least, you guys don't know his brother, reportedly a good guitar player. I know he's at least.
Absolutely he is. Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah.
I know you've at least played live with him, but have you written songs with him?
Oh, no. We have pretty divergent lives schedule wise, so we only really see each other on like holidays and like birthdays and stuff, family gatherings. But yeah, he's great. I mean, he could play Steve Vai type guitar, and he's got really interesting original music too. He's fantastic. Yeah.
Were you on that gig at Martyrs when he did the Vai thing?
I was on one of them, and we played the Attitude song together, which was kind of a mind fuck, but it was a lot of fun. It was cool, and he puts a lot of his just energy and enthusiasm into it, and really goes for it. So I really dig him for that. And we have yet to actually, maybe in the future, something will happen. But as of now, we're kind of we haven't done anything like that. It would be a good idea, though. We've threatened each other with it, but it's never really happened.
Yeah, I was interested in if there's a different dynamic with someone that's a family member, or if it's just songwriting as usual,
Well, I mean, I think at this point it would be. I think Jeff and I it's kind of competitive as youngsters, and that leads to I went off to do a career in music. It's been 30 years, it is whatever it is. And he went a different path, but still kept music very much in his life. So, it was just two like divergent paths there. But I would be interested. I'd be really curious myself to see what would happen with a collaboration like that. I think it'd be pretty cool. I think all the bad, nasty jealousy shit is out of the way, and now it's just like, we're too old for that shit. So it'd be fun if we ever did it.
Well, the 4 albums in question are the Brecker Brothers, Heavy Metal Bebop, 1978. Grand Discovery, Proceed, is 2019. The Johanssons and A.Holdsworth, Heavy Machinery, that's 1996. And the Linder Brothers, self-titled, is 2015. So, we usually like to kick off with Eric, our resident guitar fan. I think there's good guitar players on these, but you can tell me, what is your number 4?
Well, I thought you were going to start with Pete again, so I was.
I tripped you up last time.
This one's been tough. I feel like I need a mood ring, because it feels like they're different records to me, and depending on the mood I'm in. And again, we always talk about whatever comes in number 4 doesn't mean it's a bad record. Just we have to rank. And this one, I love the guitar work on this, but I'm going with the Linder Brothers at number 4. Just terrific stuff. The opener, I like, really funky. There's a lot of Rhodes key sounds. I do think maybe one of the detractions, like that song We Make Party, I forget what the rest of the title is. That one kind of had some off keyboard sounds for me, but I think the guitar work on this is great. And what I really liked is there's a little slowdown kind of in the middle of the record. I think after the track Allen, a couple of the tracks kind of come down a little bit, but you still get Rhodes. I like that he uses some acoustic guitar in some of these. But that Rob Snake Blues that closes the record has just got a killer guitar solo in that one. Again, it's just very tough to rank these, but I thought the guitar work on this one was really good. And I like the recording too. I think everything's kind of got its place in this one. Nobody's fighting for spots or feels like there's overplaying. I like the songs, very well composed, but I had to go with this one as my number 4.
We make party when we see us.
There you go.
I remember like reading that. I'm like, what?
I think that's what it didn't.
I have to remember where they're from too, because I think that could be.
I figured there was some kind of translation thing, but all the other song titles sounded perfectly fine.
Right.
Maybe it's an inside joke. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be.
Well, let's kick it over to Chris. What did you have in the 4 slot?
Oh, I'm going to say this one. I was just recently on tour on the West Coast, so we did a lot of driving, and I listened to these a bit on the drive. So I'm not really that familiar with the names of the tunes and such, but being a practitioner of this kind of music, there's lots of tropes to my ears that maybe escape more of a conventional listener, or you're all players, you're all musicians of one stripe or another, so we listen with different ears, and I think a lot of the sort of modern fusion tropes are present in this. I think the production is cool. It's definitely got some modern. They got some sequencing going on, some cool like drum loops and things. The guitar playing is fantastic, and I couldn't find any information about. I mean, it's like you look it up, and I got like a Linder Brothers sewage company or whatever. It's just kind of like trying to get some information on these folks, but I'm
pretty sure it's Eric Linder who's playing most of the leads. I think. Because you're right, there's very little information on this band out there.
And we know who Hendrick is, obviously, the bass player, right?
The other brother.
Yeah, the cat from
Dirty Loops.
Dirty Loops, yeah. And I've enjoyed them, and I've enjoyed his playing in particular for years. But the guitar playing is really cool. It kind of reminds me of I suppose it sort of reminds me of Dirty Loops in terms of the herky-jerkiness of the arrangements at times, and certainly the harmonies that are employed within a lot of these tunes. And obviously, I went to Allen just because it's an homage to Allen. And again, it was like, okay, so taking chords out of his vocabulary and sort of like the production is very similar. It was very much a shout out to him. I never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. I went to that title immediately because, I believe that is basically a general rule.
The best title for any song that I have heard this year.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a gret title.
Yeah. I guess there was nothing that really blew my hat off. But I say it with respect because obviously the playing is dynamite and very well conceived compositionally. The two I really liked was Pie. I think it was it Pie?
Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, once you kind of get through a bit, it kind of starts to sound kind of samey to me. And again, that's sort of one of the pitfalls of the genre, unfortunately. It seems, I mean, even back in the old days, when we were listening to Tony Williams' Lifetime and like those McLaughlin records and like the Return to Forever, so forth, and then later Weather Report and then the Electric Band, do have a tendency to kind of sound a little bit the same or of a larger piece. But that's more or less my qualm with the genre rather than the playing or the record at hand. But I really enjoyed it, and it was a pleasant listen. And actually, I think I'll continue to check it out, because I'm sure there are a lot of unopened doors in this that on the first couple of listens, it just kind of escaped me, because with music like this, you really have to kind of really check it out a lot to really see what it's offering. But I thought it was fantastic. It was, an unqualified 4, I suppose.
You gonna keep it going, Pete, or what?
I am not. So 2 of these I had never heard before. The other 2 I was very, very familiar with.
Yeah, same here.
I like all of these. I think they're all really good, but it was really hard for me. It was hard for me to choose. Number 1 and 2 were difficult, and 3 and 4 were difficult. Like what goes where, right? So my number 4, I'm going to pick Grand Discovery Proceed from 2021 or whenever this came out. Good record. Got a Finnish brother duo, Panu-Pekka Rauhala, I guess it says his name, and Thomas Rauhala. I think Panu does keyboards and produces, and Thomas plays drums and arranges the songs. And then there's a whole shit ton of people playing guitars and bass and woodwinds and strings and all that kind of stuff. I think there's some really good stuff on here. Really good stuff on here. Rediscovery, pretty nice. Maybe not overly high energy, but nice ensemble work around on that one. Mutantos, nice piano on that. Really good guitar solo. Not crazy about Ambivalent. That's kind of a softie, but it's got nice trumpet and it's atmospheric, pretty good. Medicine is like almost like prog metal, and it's just got great intensity, shredding guitars, big riffs, but it's only like just under 3 minutes long. I wish it was longer. Really good track. Hacker 32, that's pretty cool. Battery 5% rips, could be one of my favorites on here. Total face melter, really like that one a lot. Tribes is also kind of laid back, but the solos are good. And Steel Sensei, I think, is really, really good. That's the closer. Big high energy fusion. I really like it a lot. I think there's a lot to love here. There's a couple tracks that don't really connect with me all that much, but what does is really, really good. Be interesting to hear these guys kind of move a little bit more into that kind of like high energy prog metal type of thing. So I think they do it really, really well. And the guitars are, I mean, all these guys playing guitar on the album, just really, really good. So it's a really good album. Something had to go at number 4. So that's mine.
Number 4 is Linder Brothers. Yeah, like we said, Hendrik Linder is from Dirty Loops. So I guess it's no surprise that he'd be, given his playing, that he would do a record like this. We Make Party When We See Us. I got a little Tribal Tech vibes out of that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guitar player has got a crush on Scott, because there's a couple tunes on here where he definitely sounds like he's been listening to a lot of Scott. It's a little happier than Tribal Tech, though. But yeah, Hendrik's got a great slap solo on that one. The guy's got slap chops for days.
Yeah, he's insane, man.
Pie, like Chris said, that sounds like something that would have ended up on the drummer Jonathan Lundberg's solo albums. He does a lot of stuff, kind of got that Planet X vibe a little bit. He solos on that one, so it's no surprise.
It's killing, yeah.
Yeah, like we said, Alan's got some very similar chords. Solo's nothing like him, though.
No.
I expected him to try and go that way, and he didn't try that at all. So
I'm actually glad he didn't. Quite
yeah,
honestly.
I would agree.
He wasn't going to hit it anyway, so just do your thing. Yeah, like May is a middle album kind of palate cleanser, like Eric said. I gotta echo the love for never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. That's too funny. Given the current climate, it's too true too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the closer, Rob Snake Blues. That's another one where I hear a little Tribal Tech. Great solo by Hendrik on that one. But I'm going to agree with Chris in that this is very consistent, but there's no jump out tunes. There's no tunes that wallop me and go, wow. It's just a very pleasant listen. No bad songs, but in this company, it was an easy 4 for me. Eric, what do you got?
Okay, my number 3, I'm going with the Brecker Brothers. I had never heard this, and I actually really fell in love with it. I was loving the horns. Such great arrangements. I think some Skunk Funk was absolutely killer. just bowled me over. Inside Out, another one that I love that combo. There is a lot of guitar on this. You get the horns, which I think, obviously with the Brecker brothers, but I guess I was just really impressed with the arrangements. I thought the horns were just so well done and just so cool. They're so intricate. I love those lines. Sponge was another one where I think the guitar came out in the second half. But that's really my feeling on that one. As I listened to this outside of the opener, which kind of caught me off guard with the vocal. And again, I'd never heard this before. So when that East River kind of came out, I was like, whoa, this is different from something George usually gives, but the rest of the album's pretty killer. And again, I think it's just that, like I was talking about, I think these albums are so different that this one really stood out to me, that the horns just made a huge difference in this compared to the other three. And I don't know. I really got into this one. I think I need to check more of their stuff out. I don't know if the studio, I guess I'm kind of glad you picked a live record, George. I think there was a lot of punch to this and a lot of energy. But I honestly have not really listened to them. So it's definitely something I need to dive into more of their stuff. If that kind of 70s based material is similar to what I'm hearing on some of the studio albums. So
I would say this and their debut probably would be the only two that would interest you.
Okay.
The others are very vocal oriented.
Okay.
Yeah. They have one of the rare collection albums that's actually really good. I would suggest the collection volume 2. It's great. No vocal tunes. 4 songs from this album. I mean, it really hits almost all the high points.
Cool.
So, Chris, what do you got at the 3-hole?
Number 3, I am going to go with the Grand Discovery. I really enjoyed this record a lot. It was very interesting. Finland, what are you going to do? It's Finland. Let's make a fusion album. I really enjoy the ambition of this and the orchestration, the orchestrational aspects of it. I think were really cool. I didn't love all the material all that much, but I really got into the spirit of it. What was it? Battery 5%, I thought was pretty killing. Really interesting guitar playing on this record. It's just, I kind of dug it. I was like, oh, this is bizarre. Let's see. I will agree that I'm pretty ambivalent about that one. Steel Sensei, best track on the record, like without a doubt. It's cool. It's quirky. It held a little bit more interest for me than the Linder brothers record did. And there's something about that sort of new, like, progressive metal thing that's appealing to me in some ways. Like there were moments that kind of reminded me of Devin Townsend project and here ever so briefly, and the production's cool. The arrangements are cool. I thought it was, for having not heard of these folks at all, I thought it was pretty decent. But look into some more of their stuff for sure, I think. But yeah, it was an interesting listen. I think I listened to like it 1.5 times. I kind of went back to tracks that I thought were cool. But the Steel Sensei, that was the one for me. And I did kind of like the mellower stuff on here too, because it got a little thick, or like harmonically a little thicker in places. And there's some pretty stuff. There's a lot of contrasts in this record, which I like. There weren't as many contrasts in the Linder Brothers record from where I'm sitting. But at least with this collection, it seemed like the music was trying to go in different directions at different times. So I appreciated that and thought it was an entertaining listen for sure.
I guess they're working on a new one with Andre Nieri from Virgil Donati's band on guitar. So
he's a bad mofo for sure.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah, that's my number 3.
I'm going to go with the Linder brothers for number 3, which, I enjoyed this one too. I think for me, the guitar playing really kind of pushed this one above the other one just ever so slightly. There's a couple tracks on here I really dug a lot. Rob Snake Blues is just, man, that thick tone on that one is just really cool. When you see like 2 like titles with blues in them to finish out the album, I was kind of like, I don't know. One's nothing spectacular, and then this one I think really, really hits all the marks for me. But there's some, the Allen song is really good. And like Chris said, I appreciate the fact that he didn't try and do like a Holdsworthian solo through that. It's got, some of the chords and the vibe and the production are similar to Allen's solo work.
Yeah, the intro is like, what is this, Wardenclyffe Tower all of a sudden?
Exactly. But then he comes and starts soloing. Like, oh, all right. He's not trying to do the Allen stuff. So that's pretty cool. I liked When I Was 16. We Make Party When We See Us. Again, that title cracks me up. But it's got some good grooves to it. Good guitar solos. I think this guy Eric's guitar solos throughout the whole album are really, really good. Some good, nice Fender Rhodes on a couple tracks, and I think it's good. It's a fun album. Maybe it's nothing outstanding compositionally speaking, but I think a lot of the solo spots I really liked a lot. It's well produced. So I dig it. Good stuff. Number 3 for me.
I'm going to echo Eric. My number 3 is Brecker Brothers, Heavy Metal Bebop. The opener, East River, is a funk vocal tune that's kind of typical of their vocal songs on their albums at that time, which is to say I don't really like it. But, that's not what this album's about. If you're going to put a studio song on a live album, wouldn't you put it last? Why would you open with a studio song on a live album? It seems strange to me. Has that ever happened?
Unless the record label wanted to push that as a single, which wouldn't surprise me.
Wow. Exactly. Yeah.
You'd think they wrote a better song because it's kind of mediocre.
It's okay. It's nothing special.
Not my thing. But, it's about the live portion. Some Skunk Funk is that's probably the track that defines this band for most people. It's just an incredible tune. Slamming classic. Sponge has got great exchanges between the brothers and Barry Finnerty. Yeah. And also some smoke and fills from Basio on drums. I mean,
Basio's on fire on this record, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, this is one of his performances. Yeah. He is murdering it. Really good production on this record, too. The live portion sounds great. My personal favorite Brecker Brothers tune is the closer, Squids. I love that tune. A Randy composition.
Yeah.
That's one of my very favorite 70s fusion songs, period. If I did like a top 20 of fusion songs in the 70s, probably be on there. I mean, I love that song. Inside Out is kind of a mid-tempo bluesy boogie. I don't know. It's a decent tune. More for the soloing. The soloing on this album, Randy and Michael are out of their minds on this album. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
They're leaning into that whatever that effect is. They're both using the same effect, it sounds like.
They plug their horns into a wah-wah pedal.
Yeah.
And I read up on this, and then that went into a guitar amp.
Right.
Like, what horn players do that, right? It's just crazy.
It makes it sound like it's got a lot more attack. It's just when they start running these 16th notes right in your brain, man, they're just hammering you. The soloing is memorable too. It's not just high tech; it's super memorable on this record. I don't know. If the whole thing was as good as these really good live tracks, it would be probably number 1. But the vocal tune and a funky see, funky do. Yeah, I mean, kind of. I put that with Inside Out. It's kind of a decent tune, but it's more the other 3. I just love them so much. So I put it at number 3. Eric.
Okay. I'm going to have a little Stephen Reed story on this one, but my number 2 is Heavy Machinery. And I'll tell you why I bring Mr. Reed up. So we talk a lot, guys in the prog seat. We chat back and forth. And George and I will be talking to Stephen, and Stephen really has no interest in this music whatsoever. He likes songs, and I always hear, he'll say, it just sounds like a bunch of noodling and everything else. Now, the soloing on this is absolutely fantastic. And I think we've talked about this, George and Pete, where this is how you want to hear Alan. You just want to hear him go to town, and he does on this record. But as I was listening to this record, Steven kept popping into my head going, where's the song? It doesn't, and I have to admit that when this is done, I don't necessarily hear the songs as much as I'm hearing Alan's playing, or I know Johansson also does a lot of keyboard synth stuff. But for some reason, as much as I love the soloing on this, I did find, and it's the only one that I own of the four, but I just got it recently. So I think that was probably the distinction between my number 2 and my number 1, that I was having trouble retaining the actual songs. And I think when I listen to this, and Chris, you're obviously the professional musician, I feel like when I listen to it that, you know, the back stuff is kind of just there for Alan to go off on. And I don't know that it's as inventive as some of the other albums we're talking about today in terms of the structures and everything else. It does seem like here's a platform, go to town. And that's exactly what Alan does. And it's amazing. But I think that's what kind of kept this at number 2 versus number 1 for me. So Heavy Machinery comes in at number 2.
Get Steven on your shoulder, right? Going,
I'm telling you, every time I put this on, Steven's in my ear going, where's the song, Eric? Where's the song?
What do you got in the 2 slot, Chris?
I got that. Same thing. Now, there's a couple things with this record. I mean, I grew up, I was, you know, just a young little tool in the early 80s when Rising Force came out. And, you know, I know the Johansson brothers from playing with Yngwie, you know. And, like, I think his, you know, on his best material, I think, in my opinion, is his best material. And so I was familiar with them. And I was really surprised when this record came out, because I was like, what the hell is this going to be?
Yeah.
You know, you have the Yngwie, the Rising Force rhythm section, basically. And but I would echo what you said, Eric. Like, well, first of all, for me, what's keeping this out of number 1 is the fact that I feel like, you know, I love hearing Alan playing over chord changes. And many is the time where this kind of falls into a 1-chord vamp that he just basically, well, he'll show you all of the harmonic and melodic possibilities in that 1 chord. But for the most part, it becomes a little static for me. And it didn't seem like much of a collaboration either. It was sort of like, okay, we're going to drop in Alan here, and he's going to play for a while. And then they kind of play some stuff together. But it seemed as though it was kind of the kind of recording where the everything else was recorded first, and then like the guitar was dropped in, which was probably how it happened, because it seems that's how Alan worked. I will say, though, as a Holdsworth fan, this was a real sweet spot for his playing in the late 90s. You know, he was conceiving the music that would later become, I think, his finest hour, which is 16 Men Obtain. And he had done that record of Standards. I feel like he was in a real focused, really beautiful place with his playing. And that reflects in this very much. And there's some things, there's some licks and stuff that I've been trying for years to pull out of this record. The other thing is the production. The drums don't sound very good to me. The drums are kind of distracting in their sort of, I think it was like, let's bring them out as much as we can because this is the Johansson brothers. But to me, they sound overcompressed, the cymbals. I mean, it's just not pleasant. It seems like everything is really compressed. But as far as the tunes, I mean, you know, On the Frozen Lake, I think, is a standout for me. Obviously, I think what was it? Joint Ventures. The first tune is super cool. And then kind of, let's see. Never Mind Our Weather. I like that. On the Fritz pretty cool as well. Great solos in there. I think, Jens, if that's how you pronounce the name?
Yeah.
Is absolutely killing. I mean, just an absolutely fucking unsung hero keyboard player. I would like to hear a lot more from him. I don't know if very much more exists with these fellas, but yeah, I mean, I've had the record for years. I was very excited and very curious when it came out, and kind of listening to it again for this exercise. I think I just couldn't get past the drum sound, man. But I really loved what Alan did, and some of Jens' solos are just absolutely amazing. And I always really dug, even on the Yngwie records. I always thought he had really cool lead sounds on the keyboard. Like he was very, very expressive. So yeah, this is number 2 for me. Heavy Machinery. I'd like to rate it 1 for the guitar playing alone, but it doesn't quite get there for me.
Pete?
All right, so my number, I kept going back and forth on my 1 and 2, and ultimately I had to talk myself out of putting one album in the number 1 spot, because I said to myself, well, you can't put it at number 1 for the guitar solos alone. So I'm going to go with Heavy Machinery also at number 2. And I bought this when it first came out, and I remember at the time thinking kind of what you guys have already said, that, wow, my God, Holdsworth's playing on here is just godly. But I don't really know if I like the tunes or the production all that much. I think Jens sounds great on it. He's such a great keyboard player. And as Chris said, the stuff he did back with Yngwie in the 80s, I thought was amazing. He's played with Stradivarius for a number of years. He's shown up on Arion albums, and he's popped up all over the place. And usually what he does is fine. But, I mean, this is a good example of what kind of skills he has to do this type of music. I mean, to me, he's kind of like a modern Jan Hammer on this album.
Yeah, that's right? What I was thinking too, yeah.
Which is really cool. But I would agree. I think the production is not very good. I don't like the way the drums sound, even though Anders is playing great on here. But, man, Alan's solos are just monstrous. I mean, he rips on it, and his tone is great. It's a shame the whole album, like, their parts don't sound as good as his guitar, because he's just going berserk on this album. There's so many great, solos on here. I mean, he's great on Joint Ventures. Beef Cherokee is cool. Good Morning, Mr. Coffee's got some blazing stuff on here. Jens is doing some really good organ tones on Nevermind Our Weather, and then Alan comes in and just totally slays from there on in. I honestly, I think this is some of Alan's best soloing from this time period. And for whatever reason, every time we talk, and we talk about Alan all the time on this show and on the channel, and we always talk about, Alan's best playing and which albums and blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I never cite this album as like one of my favorites for his guitar soloing, because I really should, because he's just killing on this album. But I think the album is a little long in the tooth. It's a little long. I don't like the production, and kind of like what Chris said, it's like, and Eric said, I don't know how many great songs there are on here. There's certainly some great soloing on here, but for that reason, I really couldn't put this at number 1. But it's damn good. And I think if there are folks watching who really appreciate the guitar work of Alan Holdsworth and never check this album out, you really should, because to me, it's got some of his most spectacular soloing on any album from the last, 30 plus years.
It's essential almost for that reason.
Right, exactly. I mean, he's just ripping on here. And, it's funny because, you see on the liner notes, like, oh, he plays guitar and syntax. And you're like, oh, because we all know, like, his stuff from, like, the late 80s and the 90s. If you see syntax, it's probably going to be 75% of the album, and the rest will be guitar. Well, it's not really the case on here. It's mostly guitar with a little bit of coloring on syntax, which I think is a good thing. So, yeah, it's my number 2, but it's definitely cool. And like I said, Alan just totally rules on it.
Hey.
Okay.
I'll keep it going.
Oh, you got the original cover. Or the Japanese cover, right? Yeah, I got the.
No, The original.
Yeah, I had a couple of versions of this actually.
Yeah, I got the shrapnel version, I guess.
It was on Jens's father's label, Heptagon Records. So I got this right when it came out. You know, like you guys, I was pumped up. The Ingve guy playing Fusion. What's this going to be? You know. Then to hear Holdsworth was on it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be something else. Yeah, I like it a little more than you guys, I think, because I think what it has that my number one doesn't have is, Fusion is a lot about soloing, and not just good soloing, but identifiable. These guys all, like Jens and Alan, you don't mistake them for anybody else. And the playing is incredible. Good morning, Mr. Coffee. I mean, wow.
That's
for him Jens to be able to battle with Alan on that and come out right there. It's like amazing. What a great player he is. Yeah, and I like joint ventures on the Frozen Lake. Beef Cherokee, I actually like. Alan kind of sounding a little bit ominous. It's kind of an ominous kind of a feel to that one. And Never Mind Our Weather. I don't know. There's no song on here I really skip. Maybe the closer, Macrowaves. That's kind of a tack-on throwaway.
Yeah.
But I just feel like the playing is too compelling. But it was going to be my number one right until now. I got to put it number two. You guys kind of talk me out of one thing, but number two, Heavy Machinery.
I wanted to put it for number one, just for Alan.
Me too, man.
Because it's the best guitar playing out of any of these albums, right? By not even close.
Yeah.
And keyboard playing is incredible.
That too, yeah, of course, for sure.
There are definitely some cool textures and stuff on here. I mean, it was number two, for me.
Yeah.
Number two is good, I mean, it's just there's really what bugs me the most is the production, the drum sounds. I mean, he's playing the shit out of the drums. It's just I wish I could hear more of the nuance of what he's doing. It just seems like the entire drum picture is compressed into this box.
I would agree with that. Some of the cymbals sound shimmery.
Yeah.
It's a little odd.
Gated cymbals. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Did you ever hear the follow-up? They did a follow-up with Alan wasn't for it. It was Mike Stern and Sean Lane.
No, I've heard of it. I haven't checked it out though.
Yeah, you probably like it.
Yeah, Sean Lane, Jesus. Yeah.
Well, let's hear about your number one, Eric.
Well, I went with Grand Discovery, number one. I liked, and again, I'm not a metal guy for the most part. I like the metallic edge that they have in here at times. I think it's a real good mix of heavy and atmospheric. I love the guitar work. The tune that hooked me was Mutanos. I just love that vibe sound. I don't know if that's from Zappa that got me into that, but to me, I heard that one. And actually the opener, Rediscovery, the bass and drums pop on that one, boy. That one just killed me right out of the gate. I'll agree with you guys on Ambivalent. I think, Chris, you might have mentioned Medicine. What a blazing guitar solo in that one. I mean, that was just unbelievable. And I'll kind of piggyback off you with that. Steel Sensei is a great closer. And again, there's a couple things like I think that Hacker 32, Ambivalent, those get, but it's nice that you get that variation. They go from heavy, they got a couple atmospheric things. And then just the guitar work on here, I think is incredible. And I really like the keys too. So I pretty much liked most of this record, and it was kind of nice. Maybe with those mellower ones, you kind of take a breath and then you can come back in and jump into the heavier stuff. But I really like the contrast that they had throughout. There's a lot of variation in the tunes, great playing all the way around. Like every song, kind of like I said, that Discovery, for some reason, the bass and the drums just stood out to me on that opening track that were just killer. But I really got into this. I'd never heard, and this goes for 3 of the 4. I'd never heard this one prior to George throwing his obscurities out at us. So, but terrific stuff. I mean, it's just amazing the stuff that's out there that you'd never have a clue about otherwise. That I want to get these. So I want these back here somewhere. But we'll see. We'll see what the dollars say when you go looking for them. So.
It's cool. You said you mentioned Mutantos. I thought that had some gong going on in there. It kind of felt.
It might have. I had a vibe sound in that one, and You know, I don't, and maybe they're doing it on keys versus actual vibes. I don't know, but I just love that when that's going on. It's got that kind of spooky feel when the vibes are going. I totally dig it.
There's a lot of variety texturally on the record for sure. Yep. You know, more so than the other ones that are just flatly what they are in terms of instrumentation and things. There were a lot of like orchestrational and, you know, just, you know, orchestrational sort of surprises in it.
Agreed.
There is a marimba credit, so it's probably marimba.
Okay, nice.
There you go.
Yeah, I was hearing like gong, like mid-70s gong, sort of.
Alan era gong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Talk about your number one, Chris.
Number one's heavy metal bebop for a couple of reasons. Because I think I never really gave a shit about the vocal tune. You know, it's just never really. It was like, oh, okay, because I was introduced to the record with some skunk funk, which is a tune I've actually played a bunch. It's kind of a standard in some ways. And man, just as soloists, I mean, these guys are out to lunch, man. I mean, plus, I mean, this is sort of like a hashtag cocaine sort of record. I'm sure they were pretty much lubricated on this one. But, you know, a lot of the sort of, you know, with Terry on drums, a lot of this sort of, to me, got started with Zappa in New York and the Purple Lagoon, that sort of thing, which I just love. I just love that sound. And, yeah, I agree about Squids. It's a killing tune. I actually actually saw Randy. You know, he does a lot of work with college jazz bands and stuff, and he'll fly out and play with anybody. And I asked him about Squids once. He's like, yeah, well, you know, it's just a throwaway tune. We thought it would be a good closer. And it's like, fuck you, man. You know. But yeah, it's one of my favorite records, and Terry just beats the shit out of it, man. He's like, you know, he's really kind of, I feel like now this could be just a theory, but Terry was replaced by Vinnie Colaiuta in Zappa's band, and I don't think that was lost on Terry. And so when this record was recorded, and also with the UK stuff, I mean, just Terry's just on fire, man, just owning this stuff. But I think, you know, compositionally, the tunes are all sort of catchy, and like harmonically, it's all very jazz based, you know, like and these guys are some of the deepest improvisers in jazz that you'll ever get, especially Michael Brecker, you know. I mean, guy's insane, you know, and just had a storied career, basically from when he stood up to when he died, you know. So it's a classic. It's a classic in the fusion genre. It's I've always loved the sound of the live portion of it. You know, it's just very ballsy and in your face, and yeah, it's killing. I love every second of it. And I've over the years I've really enjoyed playing some skunk funk. You know, it's kind of like a rite of passage for a fusion player to learn that song. You know, so yeah, it's cool. That's number one for me.
What do you think of Barry Finnerty?
It's great. It's great. I mean, he kind of reminds me of sort of who's a guitar player in Bruford that replaced Alan?
John Clark.
Yeah, John. He's got a little bit of John Clark. You know, sometimes it's like, Jesus, this guy's just what happened to this dude? You know, yeah. But like to me, like it's funny, you know, being a guitar player, I more interest is held in what the horns are doing, like improvisationally, than the guitar. The guitar sounds, I don't want to say cliched, but it's sort of kind of it's. I mean, I play the instrument. It's very easy to slot in to any. Well, this is, you know, like I said, it's kind of tropic. You know, it's bluesy, it's jazzy, it's aggressive. I mean, it's killing. I got nothing bad to say about it. But it's not where my ears. I'm checking out what
the horns,
what the horns are doing. Yeah.
Talking about it some more, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, it's my number one too. I've loved this album for a long time. And yeah, it's funny because they taped this at my father's place in Roslyn, New York, and as we know, Ken Golden always talks about seeing shows at my father's place when he was growing up. This is a pretty popular place out in the island. But I never really minded East River all that much. I think it's for what it is. It's just a funky vocal tune. I think it's the arrangement's okay. It's totally weird that they put this on here, but I don't really mind it all that much. But man, the live stuff is just absolutely killer. I mean, I love Inside Out. I mean, I just, it's funny because right off the bat on the first live track, it's like, you got Randy playing his trumpet through a wah-wah pedal. It's got, gain on it. And it just sounds nasty. And then Michael comes in on the sax and he's doing the exact same thing. I'm like, what are these guys doing? But it just sounds so amazing. And then, Finnerty comes in. I think what's interesting about Finnerty on this album is he's playing like a lot of rock licks. And he's real aggressive and just
really blues based.
Yeah, it totally fits, and every time he plays a solo, you're impressed, but then you want to hear more of these amazing horn arrangements. That's what you come here for, and that's the show stealer. Some skunk funk kills on this. Sponge has just got grooves to die for, and you got another good Finnerty solo. I like Funky See, Funky Do. That's just a vehicle for Michael. I mean, Michael Brecker was just a genius. He's so missed. I mean, what amazing sax on that track. And then I'll agree with George, man. Squids is like one of the great fusion tunes from this era. I mean, the grooves are amazing. The horn arrangement's so cool. Ripping guitars and just the whole vibe of it. It's just so well written, so put together. And to me, this album is like this is like a New York City fusion record for me. And that's what it's all about. Being a New York guy, we always think of like the Brecker brothers as like, New York's own. You have like, the LA scene and all that. And this is just like kind of like a New York album for me. So yeah, my number one.
That's a good way.
Should have been longer.
I would agree. I would agree. Yeah, put a couple more live tunes and
I think
studio track for the next studio album, right?
I think that's a thing, man. I think that there are some tracks from this record that escape the record, but that are out there from those.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Pretty sure.
Maybe it'd be another situation like the Mahavishnu where it might pop up at some point.
Yeah. But I don't know who owns these anymore. I'd imagine that they own it now, but yeah, that'd be really cool. It'd be cool to hear an entire show.
Yeah.
You would hope they do something about that while Randy's still alive, because it would suck if they wait till he's gone and then both brothers are gone. And like, oh, we're going to release the, double heavy metal bebop.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I mean, we'll take it, but it's just like that doesn't help the boys at all, So
maybe there's a good sounding boot from that tour. I'll check around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen to have heard of there being several other tunes from this show, or I think they did a couple of shows. Maybe they did a weekend or something that exists out there somewhere. Same lineup and everything.
Because how long is the live portion of this album? Half hour?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Ponte live. It's too short too.
That's another perfect example. Yeah, that should have been a double, right?
That really should have been a double.
Yeah.
Although it seems to me, jazz musicians are they're really kind of, getting a good take and like they've probably settled on, oh, these are the best live tracks that we did, even though who the fuck are they to make that decision? What I mean?
Yeah. They probably had label guys saying, is there interest in a double?
Yeah. Well, probably not, but yeah, I've always been a fan of it, It was cool. Thanks for inviting me, and I checked out some tunes records I've never heard. But often you guys talk about stuff that I'm like, what the fuck what are you talking about? I've never heard of any of this stuff.
Every month,
dozen albums deep.
So for me, there's always at least one. Always at least one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I'll go with my boy Eric. My number one's Grand Discovery, just for the main reason is the scope of it, the ambition of the differing sounds on it. I was going to hold it back a little bit because I want more song development. There's only like a couple songs here that are like 5 minutes even. So I would like to see them develop the tunes a little more. but I like every song on here except for Ambivalent. Ambivalent, yeah, that doesn't take me anywhere. But the rest of this stuff, especially like Eric said, Rediscovery, that Kraken opener, I mean, that is killer. And Hacker 5%, Battery 5%, sorry. That's a massive tune too.
Yeah.
The thing they had 2 EPs before this in the early 2000s, and those are both more of that heavy stuff, the Planet X kind of stuff. And then they disappeared for like 10 years. So I don't know there's a slight change up in this to get like 3 songs like that, and then some more jazzier material. So I don't know if this is the way they're going or this is an outlier, but I was here for it. This was high on my list that year. Came out the same year that the last Kick the Cat did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was a good year. But yeah, I wanted to go with the Johanssons, but I do find the songwriting is more interesting to me on this than that. So I went with this at my number 1.
It felt like more of a compositional, orchestrational record than the emphasis being on the soloing and thing. I do agree with you that, like, I mean, I think compositionally it was well developed, but maybe not so much improvisationally. It would have been nice if some of these tunes kind of breathed a little and, opened up a little, for sure.
Well, the George's pick, Jens Fossum, Bass Detector. This is 2015 release. He's a bass player. The brother in question here is his brother Havard. Plays all the woodwinds on this record. What'd you think, Eric?
Again, somebody I'd never heard of. But I got into it. I thought, obviously it goes without saying, a bass player puts out a solo album, you're going to get a lot of bass. That opener, I think, again, like I talked about with Grand Discovery, and I got this off YouTube. So listening was kind of getting broken up with their commercials and stuff. But Walter Friedman's Pick a Choice, really kind of cool. The bass kind of pops in that one. The sax, obviously there's a lot of sax on this as well. I think my favorite was Ocean Drive. What a great bass riff that one was.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then is it the Days of Wine, Guns and Roses, I think is one of those. I thought there was some really neat, there's not a, neat guitar work on that. It was kind of a nice change of pace. And I think he uses a stand-up on the closer, Friday's Lullaby, which is, again, kind of nice to hear that going on. And there's some songs that have, and I'm sure if I'm off base, you can throw one out at me, but almost like a big band feel. I think like that Copycat, and one of them had, is it Zanzibar? Maybe kind of an older, like an old time feel to it. So I thought it was quite a diverse record, but neat. And again, I think compositionally, there were some really good tunes on here. So, I wish I didn't have to listen to it on YouTube, but that was my option for this one. But interesting record for sure. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I never heard of him before this, and I never heard anything since. So.
Even with other people, just
nothing, zero. What'd you think, Pete?
I dug it. I mean, it's funny how, it's a bass player, obviously, and it's his solo album, and the bass work is great on here. But I kind of thought that the sax kind of stole the show on a lot of these tunes. And I get like a little Weather Report feel from time to time on a couple tracks. But there's some good stuff. I mean, Rathskeller, I think, is a really good song. I really like Walter Friedman's Pick a Choice. I mean, the bass is really cool in there. It's got some quirky sax. Zanzibar, I like too. Ocean Drive, that's really good as well. I mean, I love the lead sax melody in Copycat. But yeah, for me, it's like, and Route 69 is really cool because he does like an old school kind of like walking bass line on that. There's all this kind of screaming sax going on. I think it's a really good, fun album. It's got lots of groove. His bass playing is great, but like I said, to me, this album is all about the sax. I think it just kind of steals the show on every song that it's featured on. But it's good, fun stuff. I dug it. And again, I never heard of this guy before either. So pretty cool.
You check it out, Chris?
I did. I also had to source it from YouTube. I would recommend premium. It's $20 a month, man. No ads. And I mean, ads. I want to shoot myself in the eye when I see them. And I'm just a very impatient person by nature. So, I wasn't able to get to the whole thing, but what I heard was pleasant. It didn't necessarily knock me out. Like it was like, oh, this is. I was more sort of enthralled with the other stuff that we were doing here, but I'd like to hear more. I mean, I will finish checking it out. I mean, I didn't give it the fairest shake in the world. I think I only got to 3 tunes maybe, but what I heard was cool. Definitely the saxophone playing is killing. Whoever that is, it's pretty happening.
There's 2 guys on there. I never heard either guy, but
yeah.
It's the brother.
The bass playing was cool. It did sound like a bass, bass player records have this, like, everything is sort of groove based, kind of almost ostinato based sort of thing. I got some of that out of this. So yeah, I'd definitely be into checking it out more. And I thought what I heard was cool.
Yeah, I don't know who shared it with me. Somebody shared the YouTube of Walter Freeman's Pick a Choice, and I was just blown away. I mean, this guy really sounds like Jocko. The opening solo is killer, but then he goes into that 16th note line with the sax around it. I was like totally enthralled with that tune. So I picked it up off Amazon, and yeah, the other tune that everybody's mentioned is Ocean Drive. That bass line. Again, with the 16th notes, man. And he's got some kind of like octaver kind of sound on there. That one just stuck in my head big time. And then, yeah, like Eric said, there's a couple that give you that kind of more of a jazzy feel. Good stuff. I'd like to see him turn up on more stuff or write another album, something. But
when was this? When was this from?
2015. So you have to wonder. I looked for his Facebook page and it's kind of dead. So you never know with these guys. But if somebody knows, put it in the comments. What's up with Jens Fossum?
there you go.
And is there any other records I can check out? Because the guy's a great player.
Yeah, he is.
But,
It seems like a lot of the really cool modern fusion is coming out of Europe.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the States, everybody knows it's kind of a lost cause. It's very difficult to make a living here. You can't do it at all. Kick the Cat had a run of about 3 years, and that was really all we could afford. Because once you get into it, you're buying merchandise to sell at the shows, and that's kind of taking precedence over the music that you're trying to make. And you don't want to lose money on the road, but you kind of do. And then, it's a struggle, man. It definitely is. But I know a lot of groups do pretty well overseas, and in Japan and things like that.
I mean, Scott Henderson himself told us, right? It's like we talked to him when he had the new album out. He's like, yeah, get ready to go on tour, going over to Europe. It's like, not even bothering here, right?
Well, yeah, you'll make money there, you know, and money's worth, it's maybe a third more than the dollar, when you come back and exchange it. So, and plus, I mean, I think there's been a resurgence in sort of the interest in the sounds of fusion. You get Snarky Puppy and like bands like Goose and some of these jam bands that are, sort of bumping up against that sort of thing. Yeah, Corey Wong and like his like gospel funk thing, and like it's instrumental and the people are getting into it. But then you throw something on like, us or then like, what the fuck is it? It was so fun to play those sort of jam band festivals and like, bring some fusion to that.
So Chris, where does that come? Because I'm actually going to see Goose Saturday. And I've never seen them or really heard them. And we've talked about Squeaky Feet on here and a bunch of other bands. Yeah. So they are bringing that kind of, I know it's improv-y, obviously, but they do have a jazz side where A lot of the early jam bands they were more, it wasn't.
They're motherfucker players, yeah. But I think they're actually getting away with highway robbery, They're doing what we wanted to do, basically. Just sort of like tricking people into digging fusion.
They figured it out.
Got to get them some way, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those. Yeah, they're really good. They got nothing but good things to say about them, and they're out there they're out there whacking away at it year round, and that's one of the things that Kick the Cat wasn't able to do. I mean, I've got a 9-year-old kid, and everybody's got shit going on in their lives, and it was Chris Myers is getting married, and he's going to be Mr. Domestic now, and so it like that kind of stuff. But these guys, they're young and they're motivated and they're killing it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Goose especially wasn't one of the bands that everybody's going to just start hearing a lot more from.
They're actually doing 2 nights. They're playing Friday and Saturday. I mean, it's an outdoor venue. I mean, they can draw. I think they cap it at 25. I have no idea what they're going to draw, but if they're here 2 nights, they got to be bringing in.
They'll probably sell it out. Probably, I would imagine. Yeah. So that's the thing about that scene, though. I mean, it kind of has a ceiling, I mean, because there's only so many people who are going to be into that kind of music, but everybody loves to go to festivals and things like that. So it's deceptive.
Yeah.
You really you really find out who your fans are if you're touring in the dead of winter. You know what I mean? It's like if people are coming to your shows in February, then
they love you, right?
Yeah.
Eric, what venue are they playing at?
SPAC. They're doing 2 nights at SPAC. So I mean, they can do SPAC will hold 25,000. I think is their cap. So
are they headlining?
It's just them, and I don't know if there's an undercard or not. But
oh, good for them, man. That's great.
Wow, they could squeeze 25,000 people at SPAC.
Actually, they've squeezed more. I think it was a Dead show back in the 80s that I think overflowed the place. And after that, they said we won't go above 25 because they got crushed with a Dead show.
I can imagine. I think Bethel over here probably is 15 or 18 max capacity. So that's a lot for SPAC, 25.
So you're telling us there's no Kick the Cat activity or what?
At the moment, no. I mean, it's not. We had to dissolve everything when Chris left the band. Chris Myers.
Yeah.
He had some health problems. He did rotator cuff surgery, which kind of took him out of touring with Humphreys. But he was kind of touring in the gaps with us, and it was just too much for him, And it'd be one thing if we were a Grateful Dead sort of band, but no. I mean, shit is really aggressive and it's really hands-on. So, but yeah, I mean. We're all very much, Chris Clementi, the bass player, he's always writing stuff. And, we have a half a record. The follow-up to Gurgle was half done. So we have like 5 tracks that we plan to release at some point. And, but we'll see, maybe next year we'll come back and do some shows. And we got a great new drummer. Local guy named Greg Essig, who's a young dude, just absolutely killing it, just breathing new life into it. And we just, it's all about budgets. It's all about how much money you can raise and to make it happen. And we're all now Vijay's got kids in school, and there's lots of got to make some money. Got it's hard enough making a living as a musician. Let alone investing in a project that if we had somebody saying, hey, we'll give you like 40 grand to go on the road and here you go, that's great. We don't have that. So, but we do love playing together, and it's certainly not over. So it was like a 3-year awakening, and but we'll be back at some point or another.
Good, cool.
Right.
Keep us posted.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been having a great time playing with the Howard Levy 4. Pete, I know you're not a fan of harmonica, but but yeah, that's been a lot of fun. He's one of the founder members at Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, and I was also just a genius piano player as well. So been going out with him and having a lot of fun with that. And I'm going to be getting back to doing some of my own shit too. been writing some material just for myself. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Kick the Cat's certainly not done, but I think it's safe to say we're on hiatus right now. None of us are talking, but that doesn't mean we won't. Yeah.
Cool. George, you want to give everybody a little hint of what's to come next month?
Yeah, I think we'll do the suggestion of Pete's. A look back at the late 70s West Coast guitar fusion scene, kind of that breezy sound. We'll let you figure out the artists. Who?
Larry Carlton, Lee Ritenour, that sort of shit, or
That kind of thing, yes.
that sounds good to me, man.
So tune in for that one.
Yep, cool. Looking forward to it. So thanks for watching, everybody. You know how it goes. You got 4 albums. Let us know how you would rank them down in the comments below. If you haven't done your homework already, blame it on Gary Joyce. But if you have, put it down in the comments below. Otherwise, give these 4 albums a listen and let us know what you think. And we'll see you back here next month for 4Fusion Friday. Till then, visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. We'll see you next time here on 4Fusion Friday. For Chris Siebert, George Lamie, and Eric Porter, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.